talking about things that not gonna make a difference, you gotta know for the test. So glass breakage is covered on your policy, but it's not covered under the DP1 or HO1. So glass coverage is written from the HO2, DP2 and above. Now this only gives you $100 per window, $500 per occurrence. But it's not written on the basic. So breaks your glass, collapse during construction, this is not on the basic either. So these two are not under the basic. We have to know that for the test. So these are additional coverages. Where they say this at. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the wording where they should have told you this, but. So of the coverages, what we call this additional coverages, these are additional coverages you get on your policy. Glass breakage, collapse during construction. But it's not gonna be under basics, that's all you have to know about these guys. Cost for repairs, if, whatever cost for that contract to put your house together again, they'll pay for the whole thing. That's a given. Debris removal, if you have a kitchen fire, they remove all the debris before you put a new kitchen in. Not on a test, you just have to remove these two and never under the basic. This one you have to know for the test. Improvements, alterations, additions only applies if you are a renter. Otherwise, does not apply if you're the homeowner. If you're renting, this only applies to you. If you do any upgrades to that apartment you're renting, this will now cover you up to 10% of coverage C. So, but you only have to remember, this applies only to your renter's policy. So, we have 3 dwelling policies. We have DP1, DP2, DP3. You can buy this as a renter, or you can buy this as a homeowner. So, if I buy a property, I can put a DP2 on that policy, on that property. If I'm renting that property, I can put a DP2. Now, if I'm renting, this one right here only applies to the renter. Because a homeowner, if I own the dwelling, I don't need this. So, if I'm renting this house from Jonathan, and I put a wet bar over in that corner, and somewhere down the road, the dwelling catches on fire, and that wet bar is destroyed, I get it collected under my policy. Jonathan is gonna collect under his policy. So anything you do as an upgrade to the place you're renting, is covered under your renter's policy. You should keep the information if you are renting, if you do an upgrade, what you upgraded that place to be, what the upgrade you did to that property. Your policy also covers lawns, trees, shrubs, and plants. So no more than, it says 5% of A, but no more than $500 per tree, shrub, or plant.
Is that also a renter's thing?
That applies to the renter or a homeowner. 5 years ago, somebody was going down my street, they rolled their car at 3 a.m. in the morning and hit my fence. And a week later, the adjuster stops by my house, says, Mr. Jones, we are the insurance company that covers the vehicle that hit your house. We're offering you X amount of damage for your fence. Is this acceptable to you? I said, yep, I can live with that number. I said, he showed me all these pictures. I said, do you notice in this picture right here that the car rolled over my bush? I'd like to reimburse back from my bush. He says, Mr. Jones, we don't pay for that. I says to him, oh, yes, you do. Mr. Mr. Jones, I've been in business for 15 years, we don't pay for the bushes. I go, yes, you do. So he called his boss up. Mr. Jones wants the money for his plant. He wants $500 for his plant, so they send me a check for $500 for the bush. If nobody ever asked, you get reimbursed back from the bushes. So you will sometimes know more than the other person. So now the guy showed me all these pictures, showed the car that rode over my bush. I didn't expand more on that, but on this bush, there was already a dead bush, but it was my bush, so. It was fair is fair. Yeah. Now, if these guys would've learned a little bit more, they would realize there was a dead bush, but they didn't bother to check or anything else.
So dead plants aren't covered, I assume?
What's that?
A dead plant's textbook wise, dead plants that are not covered, it has to be alive?
I would think that would be most logical, yes.
Okay, but it's not specifically said, it says alive, it's
But
here.
because those guys never bothered to look,
Right.
so they could've said, Mr. Jones, that bush is dead. Oh, okay, forget about that. But since they didn't bother to look, he never paid anybody out, so he didn't know what to look for.
I would think that it's still your bush, dead or not, you know?
Boy, it is my bush there or not.
Right, so you still get paid for it. Maybe that's.
Well, I rode over my bush, it didn't do any damage to it though.
Emotion,
It was very emotional to me, that's, a couple of branches were affected.
yeah.
Do you remember that time, Irma?
No, I don't.
You don't remember that one?
No, I missed part of the story. Did they cover it or did they not cover the bush?
It's covered.
They did. But even if it's dead, isn't it still a loss? I mean,
Thank you. That's what I would.
could you argue that it was still a loss?
I didn't have to argue.
Oh,
You didn't know better.
They just wrote a check for $500.
We never cover animals, birds and fish. So if you have a dog, bird, cat, canary, whatever it is, they get killed in a fire, they don't pay for that. Animals are not covered under homeowners policies or renter's policy. Because what happens is people used to kill their animals to collect on the insurance.
Wow. They told me about that. What you plan on?
The insurance guy says, no, we're not gonna cover those things anymore. So people get their animals insured for $5,000. Animal, somehow the animal died from whatever, they put a claim to the insurance company, and the insurance company had to pay that stuff out. So insurance company said, we're gonna exclude that from now on in the policies. Boats, hold on a second, these should be exclusions, oh, yeah, these are exclusions. Boats are not covered other than rowboats and canoes, so usually rowboats and canoes are only covered up to $1,500. If you have a speedboat that's worth 5,000, 10,000 or more, you gotta get a boat owner's policy for that. For the canoes and rowboats, they'll cover that up to $1,500. Intentional. If you intentionally destroyed something, they will not pay you. Never admit you did it on purpose. You get mad at your spouse and you throw your $5,000 vase against the wall. It was an accident that I dropped it. Never tell them you did it on purpose. Land is never covered. We don't cover the land. No matter how deep you dig, there'll be land. So we never cover the land. We never cover things that are catastrophic in nature. We don't cover your car. So the dwelling or homeowners policy does not cover your vehicle. So if your vehicle is in your garage and your garage catches on fire, the car catches on fire, it's not covered in your homeowners policy, it's covered under your auto insurance policy. So we have overlapping insurance, we'll never cover that under the homeowners. Now, if in the garage, you have a set of wheels, tires over there, and you have a fender over here, we will cover those. But anything that's part of the car, we don't cover that under the homeowners policy. Other structures used for commercial farming, that would be, not covered under the dwelling or homeowners policies. If you have a farm, you have to sell your farm policy, so that'd be a commercial contract. Other structures rented to any person who is not a tenant. If you're renting something out to somebody for storage, so some people will convert their garage to a storage, hey, you wanna rent this out, maybe $400 a month, you can use my garage and put whatever you want into that. We don't cover that garage. It can't be rented out to somebody and somebody's putting storage in that. We're not gonna cover the garage, we're not gonna cover the personal property that's in the garage. So that's not covered. So when you wanna cover that stuff, they have to rent a room or something from you. Then that would be covered. And if they're a tenant and renting a room, then they should be getting a renter's policy. So the renter's policy would cover everything that's in that garage. So if somebody was asking me to rent my garage out, I'd probably type up a rental contract for them. Even if they don't live in the place, but they come every so often, at least I have a renter's contract. Their personal property would be covered under their policy on that one. So that'd be a lot cheaper, for them to, buy a renter's policy for $150 a year to cover all the personal properties inside my garage. But I have to have a rental contract with them. I'm gonna say something else about this one. Again, if they're a renter, they buy an HO4. Nowadays, an HO4, depending on how much personal property you have, $150 will cover most everything that you own. Probably cover at least, $40,000 in personal property instead of the garage. This is a dwelling policy we're talking about so far. DB 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't have liability unless you add it by endorsement. So you can add liability to the policy, you can add medical to the policy. Depending on your scenario, I might recommend it or I might not recommend it. It depends on how your life is doing and what you need to have coverage for. So homeowners insurance. So all we've been talking about is the dwelling policy, homeowners insurance. Homeowners is a package policy. What that means is, if I sell you a homeowners policy, it covers property and liability. The policy is divided into two sections. Section 1 is our property coverage. Section 2 is our liability medical coverage. So we're gonna have to know a little bit about homeowners insurance. Section 1 is our property coverages. So package means it has two different types of coverages, which is your property and liability. A dwelling is a monoline policy. So if I sell you a DP 1, 2, or 3, that's a monoline policy. If you add liability to the contract, you created a package policy. Most people don't add the liability to the contract. If you live in San Jose and you buy a place in Modesto and you rent that house out, then we'd probably tell you to buy a dwelling policy, add liability to it. Or we would probably ask you to buy a particular policy that covers both property and liability. Cause if you own something else and somebody's renting it from you, you have liability exposure for what happens on that property. When you use something like that, you should be talking to your insurance agent about what you're doing so he can advise you. Good thing is, once you get your license, you can sell yourself to your own policy, get your own commission on your own property. And some people do that, they have enough relatives, they decide to get the insurance license, so it saves them a little bit of money. Probably not, in reality, it's probably not worthwhile. This is homeowners, coverage A, B, and C are the same. A is the dwelling, B is other structures, C is your personal property. So again, on this coverage A, it covers the house, and if there's a garage attached to your house, it also covers the garage. It covers patio cover as part of the house. So this one right here, I told you before, if you have a can of paint in the garage, you use that can of paint to paint the living room wall. That garage catches on fire, the can of paint is destroyed by the fire, they're gonna ask you on its ass, where is the can of paint covered at? Answer, coverage A. So anything that's gonna be part of the house is always gonna be coverage A. So this one's on its ass. Coverage B is 10% of A. So, coverage B insures the building on the same property as the dwelling, but not attached to it. Example, includes detached garages, your fence, your gazebo, your work shed. So if you have fencing, that's also in coverage B as in Baker. But if Carol has to cause the loss, Carol has to cause the loss. So if I have a fence between me and Lorena, and if that fence falls down during the storm, we're gonna rebuild that, that's a good neighbor fence. She pays half the cost, I pay half the cost. But if the wind blows it down, then our insurance policy now pays. My insurance company pays one half, her insurance policy pays one half of the fence. Mine is all deductible. So sometimes if the fence is just leaning, your insurance policy is not gonna pay. It's gotta be completely down. So at nighttime, I would go outside, make sure that fence is all the way down during the storm. What if your neighbor disagrees with fixing up that fence? Well, he owes you the money, you can take him to court, you'll have to pay for his half, what he owes. So that's up to you, depends on if your neighbor has enough money to pay his half or not. But in technical sense, he owes for the other half of the fence. Coverage C is your personal property. This 50%, that's the old number, they don't ask them to ask about this though. Most of the homeowners policies go at 75% now. But again, they don't ask that question. Your deductible on this homeowners policy is usually, most people have $1,000 on their homeowners policy as far as the deductible goes. To me, I've never had a loss. So what I did is I increased my deductible to $10,000. Does it cut my premium down a whole bunch? Yep, cuts my premium down a whole bunch. But I also increased my coverage C to replacement cost coverage. That saved me more than enough money. So I increased my deductible 10,000. I also always make sure my personal property is written on a replacement basis. A lot of the times they'll put it as an actual cash value basis. So you wanna make sure this is written on a replacement basis. So, what I do is, when I buy a homeowner's policy, the agent really doesn't know, he does know about insurance. What we're supposed to learn as an insurance agent is what it costs to rebuild a house. They passed a law like 8 years ago that agents have to learn how to figure out the value of a house. Nobody's ever figured that out yet. But they do require a course for you guys to take, if you become insurance agents, how to calculate what it would cost to rebuild somebody's house. So, whenever I buy a policy, I'll call the agent up after I get my policy in hand, cause I gotta have it for my lender. I'll ask them, is my personal property written on a replacement basis? If he says no, I ask him to change it. I said, also, my cousin is also a contractor, how much are you charging me per square foot to rebuild my house? So they will say, we're charging you $700 per square foot to rebuild your house. My cousin says he can do it for $300 a square foot. Okay, wait, Mr. Jones, let's recalculate. So they'll recalculate my cost for my homeowner's policy. Okay, we did that, Mr. Jones, we're now charging you $300 per square foot. So we went from $750 to $300 per square foot. Does that save me a lot of money? Absolutely. Most of the homeowners policies today are written as an extended replacement or guaranteed replacement policy. Which one do you guys do, Nick? Extended replacement or guaranteed replacement?
Extended.
So, you know what that means?
No, I just see it on the policy all the time.
So what that means is that they are giving me an extra 50% of coverage on my policy. That you will never collect on. But since I reduced my coverages down to $300 a square foot, I now technically still have $600 a square foot to rebuild my house. And for my personal property. So what I've done is I've lowered my costs, but I still have enough coverage to cover everything. Up to $600 a square foot to rebuild my house. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but you have to ask for that. So when you buy a guaranteed replacement, it gives you 100% guaranteed. You buy extended replacement, it's either 25% or 50% guaranteed above your insurance already. And he says he does the extended, so that tells me he probably has 50%. So you get 50% more coverage on your house. So I am still overinsured by what I just did, to be honest with you. But my cost is 30 to 40% cheaper than what you would have paid for. Yep.
So the extended replacement gives you more value than guaranteed?
No, guarantee is you 100%.
100%.
Yeah. If you insure your house for $700,000, you in essence have 1.4 million of insurance.
For guaranteed. And then, but what saves you money is getting the extended replacement and lowering your square foot estimate?
Well, let's just stick with one, but on the extended replacement, they give you up to, it's either standard is 25%, most companies are at 50% on the extended replacement. Then they are not giving you 100% guarantee. So between the extended and the guaranteed costs more money than the extended. So whether I had extended or guaranteed, I'm going to do all the stuff I just said. And I cut my premiums down by 30%.
Gotcha, so what saves you money is getting a lower estimate on rebuilding your home.
Yeah, cause I know about construction, so I know I can get it redone at $300 a square foot. That's the minimum right now in California. If a guy comes out and tries to sell me a policy to cover for an ADU as an example, he's gonna charge me $800 a square foot. Because he's gonna assume that I don't know anything. But I already know it doesn't cost $800 to add an ADU to my house. Are you in construction?
No, not really. I mean, I've helped out with contractors before and stuff, but so it genuinely usually does only cost like 300, 400 per square foot, but then insurance adjusters will come out and try to estimate you at a higher cost to get more money from you.
We're talking about, when you insure the house or after a loss?
When you insure the house.
They don't do that. They don't have insurance adjusters come out to look at your house. Adjusters come out to look at your house if you have a loss.
Mm.
Then your job would be to call a public adjuster to confront them. So what happens is you guys have to know public adjusters versus a private adjuster. Private adjuster works for the insurance company, a public adjuster works for you. And where did that guy work at before? He used to be an insurance adjuster for the insurance company, so he knows how they get over on people. So what happens today, if my house caught on fire, today, probably by Friday, I'll have 2 or 3 adjusters show up in my house, say, Mr. Jones, we want us to help you with this claim and get your insurance company. And I will get their help. I'm just gonna negotiate what price I'm gonna pay them.
But when you're getting the policy written, by default, a lot of the time, they'll put in a more expensive amount per square foot.
Yep.
Okay.
So what they do nowadays, they'll send a drone to your house and see how your property looks from the sky. We used to send people out there to the houses, take pictures of the sides of the house, the front of the house, the backyard, anything else they might have saw. Nowadays, we just send a drone out. Now, if you have a, what's that thing, you jump on, trampoline in the backyard, if they see that, they say, well, we're not gonna cover you. It's too dangerous. Too many kids get hurt. If you're at work, and some kids, neighbor kids come over and jump on that trampoline, they get injured, it still goes against your policy.
Really?
So, trampolines are no-no for insurance companies.
What about swimming pools? That's a,
Swimming pool is not a no-no,
it's a risk.
but they do require you to have a self-locking gate for the swimming pool, so that's required by law. It's not as dangerous as a trampoline is though. So I've seen so many claims that in regards to trampoline. So usually you got 3 or 4 kids jumping on a trampoline at the same time. When one kid hits, it makes that trampoline really solid.
Right.
And then the other 2 kids come down at the same time when it's solid, and it destroys their knees. So I saw one person, both knees got destroyed. So the insurance company had to pay for operations for that person. So insurance companies do not like trampolines. If you're gonna have a trampoline, hide it until they come and do their thing, and then you bring it back out again. Yep.
Same concept for certain dog breeds, right?
Some insurance companies will cover all dog breeds, some will restrict certain dog breeds, and some will not cover any dog breeds.
Yeah.
So for me, because I tend to rescue animals, I've had like 10 dogs in my backyard at one time. I always make sure my insurance company covers dogs. So they'll cover the first bite that happens, and the second bite, that's on me. So I've had people get bit from my dogs, I just pay them cash. So I don't put a claim into my insurance company, so depends on how you wanna handle that. Any other questions? So on that, if you get a homeowner's policy, you know, gotta make sure that personal property is written on a replacement basis. I would tell you to make your deductible 10,000, to be honest with you. That's what I would do. I can't tell you what you guys should do. I can only recommend to you. And then I will also call them up and tell him you have a cousin that can rebuild your house in case of a fire. He says you can do it for $300 a square foot, cause that's the minimum I would go on those. I wouldn't be paying $750 or $800 per square foot to rebuild the house. Most of you guys, again, are gonna buy extended or guaranteed replacement homeowners policy. We don't, usually sell a straight replacement policy. For the test, they only talk about replacement, they don't talk about extended or guaranteed replacement policy on the test. You have to know about this policy though. So this replacement policy is not extended replacement, it's not a guaranteed replacement. It's a basic replacement policy, okay, that nobody sells anymore. We all sell the extended or guaranteed replacement policies. Any other questions on that? What time is it anyways? 10:47, break time, 10-minute break. Anybody have a question first? No questions, break time.
That equal percentage that you're gonna apply by the bonds. Yep.
This one we started basically the financial, right?
Yes, you already.
I'll take your word for that. I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
The keyword,
So there's,
Well, we saved the whole book, right?
yeah, chapter 2.
The whole book. And nothing but the book, so I hope you got it.
I do
So we
too.
said the whole book, so it's chapter 2, this? Yes.
It's just because I tried to read the book and then I get confused on this
Yeah,
one.
don't read the book.
Just, yeah, cause yesterday I tried to read, so, because,
You had trouble sleeping?
40,
huh?
You had trouble sleeping?
just move the decimal over two places.
I
That's
felt
all
like
I need is the book.
1 or 2 in the morning.
You not be reading that book?
I was reading it.
You only read the book if you have trouble sleeping. Otherwise, you just read
46,
that book.
move the decimal over two.
But
places.
chapter
46,
1 wasn't here.
You're confusing me now.
that's,
So this one doesn't say chapter, 1. But, yeah, you gave us,
Yes.
what's
So-
that, chapter
so
30,
can you-
page 34.
When you leave tonight, leave your big book here.
I'm just showing you how to show the word, but yes, you can leave that.
Yeah, cause yesterday I tried to
That's why
read
I
it,
think,
the,
yes.
the ones that we
so
highlighted,
847.
but then I went to the book and it was.
You should get it.
Leave the big book here.
Yeah.
You don't wanna read that book at home.
Insurance
Mhm,
You're losing time.
is on the bottom.
yeah.
The matter of fact is because I didn't round, if this was a multiple choice answer, I would have rounded that.
Pero más de eso es-
Yeah. Me neither. And the thing is, we just don't have to ask this question, see if it's spit out.
Only take. Yeah, cause yesterday I was trying to read. And I.
We don't have to, we don't know how to know how to spell.
Yeah, and I think.
Wait, you said 10 minutes?
Yep.
About 2 minutes ago?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause see, all the highlights, I transfer over here. Yeah, and I wasted like a lot of time instead of studying the application. Okay.
I've never had that. Lee, have you always done insurance?
I'm sorry?
Have you always done insurance? Is that
No,
what you do before?
oh, I haven't done insurance for a while. I do, right now, I'm building houses. So I'm the urban stage of my life.
What do you mean you do houses? You,
Building
Irish
6 houses right now.
you're a builder?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's kind of fun, and then I like stock trading.
Yeah.
So they complement each other a
Yeah.
little bit. I do help people who have insurance offices, if they have a problem, I just give them advice on how to solve their problems for the insurance business.
Like a consulting business?
I help people start their own offices sometimes.
Why houses? Just like doing it?
Well, when you go into real estate, you list houses first, and then you flip houses, and then you build houses. So, you're doing the right thing, you should be moving on with what you're doing. Building houses make more money than listing houses. So I've listed like 30 houses in 1 month before, which most people never do, but it takes a lot of work. Building houses takes a lot of work, but you make more money for what you do.
Where are you building? What area?
Up by, right now, by Allen Rock Park, where that's at.
So not Hawaii.
What's that?
Not Hawaii. Yeah.
Well, you also, learn how to find the right properties to build on. So, I bought a property that was in the county, but then I had an annex to the city. By annexing it to the city, I increased the value of the property by 30%.
Wow.
So, and then you build a property. So, you gotta know which way you can do that, which ones, whether area is a good area to buy in, which area is not a good area to buy in. So the closer you are to Silicon Valley, the better off you are as far as appreciation goes in the house.
Who's your electrician?
I don't usually hire independent, I usually have somebody do all that for me.
General contractor.
How's your drive-in?
It's all right, it's all right, again, getting the traffic, a little bit more, whole valley traffic.
How long does it take?
Yeah, about, I left the house at a little before 5, and then, got here at 7:12. It's the normal, that, I used to work at Middle Park, and did the commute, so I'm really used to the drive.
He has different shops all over. He's got one in Lathrop, but he's also got one in Fremont. He lives in Casco.
Right, right.
So he's gotta make that drive.
Yeah.
At least once a week.
Yeah, the drive is, if you're trying to make somewhere, I knew for a fact that I got to the house at least before, with that traffic, especially if one guy messes it up for everybody, and all the else, which is what happened today. My plan is to come here and deal with early, that's usually,
Yeah, my barber just bought a house. He cuts hair in Fremont. Right. He just bought a house in Antigua. And he said Altamont's taught him 2 things. Make sure you always have enough gas, make sure you don't have to go to the bathroom. Cause he might be on the Altamont for an hour and a half, 2 hours, yeah.
Luckily, I caught that accident, not too long after it happened, so I didn't take a back road. That's one thing a friend called me, I'm gonna find out too, know your back roads.
He takes Patterson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back roads used to be a lot cooler before we made it.
Yes.
Now everybody's thinking the back roads are.
Yeah, the back roads anymore,
Where
they're just roads
it's all
now.
on the route.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're just roads now. Yeah.
They know when you're, never feel so bad.
Where you at?
Officer.
Oh, okay. Not that bad, you got middle there.
Yeah, but traffic coming in and everything. Took me 2 hours last night.
I ain't even think more than 4 hours. At 5 o'clock.
You guys should go to dinner together before you. Let the traffic thing out.
Well, I was telling you, I'm probably, actually yesterday, I think I'm just gonna be at find a restaurant, study an hour or two of traffic on the road.
I would take that drive and drive you down.
I know it's like, watching, but at the same time, bring them up.
That's.
Yeah.
Are they?
One's a, they both prescribe.
Okay. Nice.
My youngest one just moved back.
So I'm not-
I got two guys, one really good friend,
I did that. I did that.
We're not nowadays?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Still with the parents,
Let's see,
right?
I know that relationship.
Yeah, no, my sister got like this decent paying job, she's like, I'm out. Like, you're gonna have to touch me, you know, whoever. Just stay home, save like. It's like you're lucky, dude, yeah.
Yeah, so you got extra room.
Right, yeah.
Nice one. Things happen.
Okay, looks like everybody's back.
I'll put you on the spot,
He just.
Gina, did you get all your answers? All the questions?
Yes.
Who helped you?
You. I just did.
You should ask the people around you,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
what was the questions were.
I asked.
Okay. So we are on whatever page this is, page 48. So when we sell you a homeowner's policy, we'll say HO3, probably the most common one asked on the test. HO3, we have coverage A, coverage B, coverage C, D, and then E and F. Put that together down there. A is the dwelling, B is your other structures, C is your personal property, D is loss of rents, and loss of use. Deductible. Applies only to A, B, and C. So A, B, and C are your direct coverages. Standard for most people out there have $1,000 deductible. D is an indirect coverage. You can't collect on loss of use or loss of rents until you have a loss to A, B, or C. So section 1 is our property coverage. Section 2 is our liability medical. So all homeowners policies have to have section 1, section 2. Again, your deductible only applies to your direct coverages, which is your A, B, and C. D won't kick in until you have a loss up here. In section 2, this is the same on all policies. So if I'm talking about HO1, HO2, HO3, HO4, HO5, HO6, and HO8, the liability medical is the same on all the policies. The differences between all these policies is somewhere in here. This is where they're all different. So if on the test they say, how is an HO3 different than an HO5? Answer's gonna be property coverage. That's gonna be the answer on the test. 2 homeowners in the question, asking you how they're different. The answer is property coverage. If they have 2 homeowners in the question, ask you how they're similar, answer is liability medical. Will be the answer. Okay?
Can you say that one more time, I'm sorry?
If they ask you on a test, how is these two, one of these two, how they are different, answer is property coverage. If they ask you how are these two policies similar, liability medical.
Liability medical?
Yes. For similar. If on the test, there's 3 homeowners in the question, so if they say, how's an HO2, HO3, HO4 similar, then the answer is gonna be coverage C, broad name perils. So then the answer is, coverage C, broad name perils will be the answer. So that's the oddball one.
If it has more than 3 owners? 3 or
3 homeowners,
more? Right.
they don't wanna have 4.
Yeah. 3 homeowners. And if the homeowner is similar, then what was the, I'm sorry?
If they ask you, how's an HO2, HO3, HO6 similar, coverage C, broad name perils. That's a tougher of the 3.
Oh, I was talking about the one before that.
If they ask,
Homeowners similar.
how is HO2 similar to an HO6, then it's liability medical.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the 3 homeowners similar thing again?
Wesley, you beat the 3 homeowners.
There's 3 homeowners, they're similar in broad name perils for HO3 and HO6.
It doesn't make any difference which 3 they give you.
Yeah, so basically, if there's 3 homeowners, they're similar in broad name perils.
Coverage C, broad name perils.
Broad
Wait.
So you're taking notes in your book? Otherwise, you can't.
So if there's 3 HOs, then the similarity is.
We have a question.
Is it easy or hard?
Okay, 3, 4, and 5.
Depends who you ask.
HO3, HO4,
Yeah. Wesley,
If there's 3
Wesley gets all my
There's 3 of them.
questions.
mentioned in the
Yeah,
question,
for you.
So let's say HO2, HO4, before,
Be similar.
That's what's
similarities is in the
Means personal
liability
property.
coverage, and the differences are in the property coverage.
The differences are property.
We only have one Westing in the room. So your name is Westing too.
So the question was,
Like between an HO2, HO4, and HO6, the liability coverage is the same, but the property coverage is different. Is that correct?
they have similar medical and liability.
Okay, you guys are trying to instruct everybody else. 3 homeowners similar, covered C, broad name perils.
Broad name perils.
So there's only 2 homeowners in the question, then this liability.
Not at all.
Okay.
There's one
2 homeowners different than this property coverage.
difference.
What did you say about broad name peril?
Good question, Wesley?
So if there's 3 homeowners, the similarity between the different types of insurance or broad name perils under coverage C.
Thank you.
And that's an oddball out of the 2.
Yes,
Broad name peril.
out of the 3.
3. No.
3 homeowners, it's broad name peril.
Liability. 2 is
Some liability and medical.
But like realistically, when we're taking the test, if you see a question that says 3 homeowners and then similar in some fashion, it's probably just broad name perils.
I wasn't listening, so I apologize.
No, you're okay.
Okay. You wanna repeat that just to make sure?
Sure. So if we're taking the test and we see 3 homeowners, something about similarity, then it's probably broad name perils. If you can remember coverage C, then that's a bonus.
Yeah, you probably see the broad name perils, but also, you might also see covered C, broad name perils. On it. You got the broad name perils, that's usually enough.
It'll never be just covered C.
No, it won't just be covered C. Okay, again, covered C under the homeowners policy, 100% worldwide. We told you that before. At the bottom of 49, it says coverage C has special limitations for 10 major categories. So, for the test, money is limited to $200. Now, some companies only go $100, some go $200. So if you have a fire at your house and you say, I had $1,000 of cash in my shoebox, so I got burned up in fire. All they do is pay you $200. Because people used to expend on that one, on a fire. So that's limited. Now, the other ones that are limited is like this guy here. Jewelry, watches, furs, fine arts, precious stones, $1,500 if due to theft. We have 3 items that have a limitation due to theft. This is one. We also have guns, $2,500 for guns. And silverware, goldware, pewterware, $2,500 for theft. So if somebody comes in and steal you goldware, the most they're gonna pay is $2,500. If it's stolen, if it's destroyed by fire, full value. If you have guns that are stolen, $2,500. Destroyed in the fire, full value of your guns. So we have 3 items that have limitation due to theft. Jewelry, watches, furs, fine arts, silverware, goldware, and guns. You have to know that for the test. So if I gave you a question and they had diamonds, silverware, money, and guns, which one's the oddball?
Money.
Money, because money doesn't have limitation due to theft. That's gonna be the answer on the test. Those are gonna be your 4 choices, money's gonna be the right answer.
What was the question?
Did you say?
Can you repeat that?
Did you you say? You said repeat that.
No question. The one that you just said,
So on assess, they're gonna say, what's the point, does not have a limitation due to theft? The answer's gonna be money. All the following have a limitation in the insurance policy except,
money.
yeah, for theft.
So if money's stolen out of your house, it's full value?
200.
Nope,
No.
$200 flat, no matter what
No
happens.
matter what, with money.
Earned, stolen,
Money is always-
somebody borrowed.
These other three, if somebody steals your guns, like, can I tell them about your house, Jason?
Yeah.
Jason has like 7 guns all over the place. One in the bathroom, one in the kitchen, every bedroom has a gun. If a bad guy comes in and finds one of those guns, the most he can collect is $2,500 for that stolen gun. If they find all his guns, then the maximum is $2,500 for all the guns. So we have to know that for the test. These three have limitations, but for theft, otherwise full value. Stolen, 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 we have a minimum value, 2,500, 2,500, and 1,500 up here. Otherwise, if fire happens, pays full value, assuming you have replacement cost coverage. Whether you're renting, whether you own, you always want to ask your agent or customer service, is my personal property covered on a replacement basis or actual cash value? If they say actual cash value, ask them to change it. For that extra coverage, with the extra, if you're renting, it's gonna cost you maybe an extra $15 a year, it's well worth it to have that coverage in case of a fire.
You said the money doesn't have a sentence,
This is limited flat limitation, $200
but for the question, you were saying money doesn't have a limitation
due to theft.
due to that.
That's because it's easy to lie about, or why is that?
Well, people would say, honey, how much, do you have money in the shoebox? Yes, I have $200. Then you have some money in the garage in the pot? I had another $500 there, and I had some money in the cookie jar in the kitchen. Pretty soon it added up to a couple $1,000s. We're gonna have to know these emergency ones. And the reason why, they're gonna ask you guys this on the test, because you guys are newbies, they want the newbies to know this one, or know these. So in the event of a declared state of emergency, an insurer must provide payments for contents of no less than 30% of the policy limits while requiring an itemized claim. So if we had those fires up in Northern California, some of these people had to wait over a year before they got reimbursed back for their personal property. Nowadays, if the governor declares a state of emergency in your area, they got paid within the next 30 days, 30% of what your limit is on your personal property. This was a good law that came into place.
So,
Need a boring thread.
great answer. The 30% of the policy limit, did the policy originally have itemized stuff in there? Or can somebody just say?
Doesn't make any difference.
No, thank you.
So if your personal property limit is, say, 400,000, they gotta give you 30% of that front. What happens in real life though, sooner or later, you have to make an itemized list of everything you lost in your house.
Right.
To get reimbursed back. So what I tell people to do is take your phone, go in your living room, videotape everything inside your living room, go to your bedroom, open up all the drawers, open up all the closets, videotape everything inside your house. Garage, whether it works or doesn't work, doesn't make any difference. Videotape everything in every room. Every 3 years, you should do that again and again. So in case you have a loss, You can itemize and prove every item you have in that house. Most people never do that though. Why? Because it'll never happen to them until it happens to them. They say, Lee told me to do that, I didn't do it. So, but you know, it happens. I don't think it's ever gonna happen to me, but I videotape everything every few years, so, it could happen. So we gotta know that guy there. Next one, in the event of a covered loss related to a state of emergency, they have to allow for loss in use to be extended to 24 months. If they don't have your house rebuilt, they have to extend that for another 12 months, give you a total of 36 months. So standard, if there's no state of emergency, they pay for you to go live someplace else for 12 months. If they declare a state of emergency, they now have to give you 24 months for loss of use. Because sometimes it takes a while for somebody to get in there to rebuild your house. So they give you 24 months. If their house is not rebuilt within 24 months, they gotta add 12 months on top of that. So this is another good law, because all those fires we had in Northern California, it took a couple of years to get all those things rebuilt. So this was another good law that passed. So you have to remember 24 months and 36 months. Standard is 12. But if it's state of emergency, it's automatically now changed from 12 to 24. If they don't have it rebuilt within 12 months, then they got, within 2 years, then they gotta give you another 12 months on top of it. That was a good law also. Okay on that one? Loss of use standard is 12 months. If they declare a state of emergency, they gotta give you 24 months. If your house is not rebuilt within 24 months, they gotta give you 12 months on top of that. And most of this was because of the fires we've been having in California. Construction takes a while to, get the permits again, find the contractors who can do the work. What's this one here? Oh, if I remember right, this one is, the event of claim related to adversity insured of the resident's property shall be permitted to combine payments for claims for loss of loss limits and primary dwelling and other structures. That's not what I'm looking for. An insured will have no less than 12 months from the date that the first payment towards the actual cash value is made to collect the full replacement cost of the loss. So we're talking about the house here. So, if your house burns down to the ground and you rebuild it, they have to pay you replacement costs for your house. If you don't rebuild the house, they only have to pay ACV for the house. So, if your house did burn down, you don't want to take actual cash value. You want to rebuild the house and put it back together again, and they pay you replacement cost for your house. That's a big difference as far as how much money you get from your insurance company. So if you don't rebuild your house and you sell the lot, whatever's left to somebody else, your insurance company only has to pay you actual cash value. If you rebuild, they gotta pay you replacement costs for the house that was destroyed. Now, in certain areas, they don't allow you to rebuild. If you're along the coast and you're really close to the ocean, what they do is they pass a law a few years back that says, if your house burns down and you cannot rebuild, then your insurance company still has to pay your replacement cost coverage. Those only if the city or the county won't allow you to rebuild, then they still pay your replacement costs. Cause that happens also.
The replacement cost for that scenario does that take into account the relocation and the replacement cost based on the old house that was by the coast?
Laura says yes.
Okay.
I have no idea what she said, but I'm gonna trust Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
She listens to everything. What do you say, Laura?
I didn't hear you, sorry. He was asking about the replacement of the property, if it's based on the original or on the new one. Is that what your question was?
Yeah, if they're relocating, cause they're not letting you build on the coast anymore.
It's whatever the policy limits are, my dear.
Okay.
Or remember, most insurance companies will charge you $600 a square foot. So now you gotta get a contractor to come in there and say, yep, it's gonna cost $600 to rebuild your house. And they gotta pay you accordingly. Okay, usually nobody is selling the basic homeowners. We do still the basic dwelling, broad dwelling, special dwelling. Not asking on its ass, I'm not worried about that. They can ask a question about the HO1, but not this particular question. HO8, this one is going by the wayside also. And they can still ask questions about this one, and I'll tell you which ones we talked about, which is those three up there we talked about. Again, on the HO4, this is for a renter. If I own a house, can I buy a renter's policy? The answer is yes. Anybody can buy a renter's policy. But a renter can only buy the renter's policy. But if you own a house, you can also, and you own a house free and clear, you can buy a renter's policy also. So anybody can buy a renter's policy.
What would be an example of a reason why a homeowner would want to also get a renter's policy?
Not also, but get a renter's policy.
Right.
Is the loan paid off?
Yeah, free and clear.
So he figures, he lives right next to the fire department, he doesn't have to worry about his house catching on fire, because the fire department will put it out. So he just wants the cheapest insurance that covers all the personal property,
Okay.
then he can just buy HO4. Usually we would never recommend that to him,
Yes.
but if a person is tight on money, which you know, so often in life you get tight on money, then you might be, at that moment in time, it might be helpful to him. So on a renter's policy, what else did I tell you about, renter's policy? What's covered on the renter's policy is not covered someplace else. Additions, alterations, and embedments, that's an additional coverages, that's only used on an HO4 policy. So any upgrades you do to that place you're renting would give you that coverage. I had it before, I don't see it right here, so I can't relate to that again. Now, if you own a condo, more than likely you'll buy an HO6 policy. But remember, anybody can buy an HO4 policy. If I own a house, I'll buy HO4, if I own a condo, I'll buy HO4, if I'm renting, I'll buy an HO4. So on the test, if they say, Ricky owns a condo, what policies should I sell him? Answer HO6. Now if it says Ricky owns a condo, but he wants to be covered for additions and betterments, what policy do I sell him? Then it's an HO4. Because additions and betterments is only found in an HO4 policy. So an owner of a condo could buy a 6 or a 4. Usually they buy the 6. They could buy the 4 if they want to. But if it says Ricky owns a condo, if he wants to be covered for additions and betterments, what policy do I sell him? Then it has to be the HO4 for that test. HO3, that's the policy that Nick sells the most often. So HO3, we call it the special form, it's also called the all risk form, it's also called the open peril form. But HO3 is the only policy that's all risk on the dwelling, broad name perils on the personal property. So HO1 is basic, HO2 is broad, HO3 is all risk on the dwelling, broad name perils on the personal property. HO4, there's no coverage on the dwelling, but it is broad name perils on the personal property. HO5 is all risk, HO6 is broad, HO8 is basic. For the test, they have one particular question, they say, which of the following homeowners policy is all risk on the dwelling, broad name perils on the personal property? Only one answer, HO3, works that way. Adriana, what's the definition of all risk? What's the definition of all risk? I know, that's good, but what's the definition of all risk? Don't make me ask Carrie, she hates that. She doesn't like leftovers. Carrie, what is all risk definition?
I'm not good at the words.
You not good at what?
I'm not good at saying it.
That's another name for all risk. What's the definition of all risk? Sona, what's the definition of all risk? Vincent,
All risk covers all risks except for those excluded in the policy.
so he's close. So risk covers against all perils, except those perils specifically excluded. I've only told you that like 5 or 6 times.
All open perils?
You have 5 or 6 places in your notebook.
All open perils?
Within that definition, all perils is thus synonymous with open
Except
peril
those
minus
specifically
for all risk. I just wanna make sure is it
Specifically
all and open are
excluded.
the same deal?
They are.
Okay,
Excluded.
What I'm gonna test that you do will say all risk.
it will say all, okay, thank you.
Mr. Singh, what's the definition of replacement? Definition of replacement?
Replacement costs without depreciation.
No.
Is it like
What's the
stated,
definition of replacement?
stated value of replacement costs?
That's closer. So replacement is actual cash value today without depreciation.
Okay.
What would it cost Mr. Singh today to buy that same item? So if we bought something a week ago, that's still the same price today. So the true definition of replacement is actual cash value today without depreciation.
Not depreciation.
Okay. Special form, water risk, open barrel, all the same thing, no difference there. What is asked, the user's gonna ask, what is all risk? And Lorena says, Lorena, what is all risk? One more time. All risk. Oh, I like that one. All risk is all risk. What's the definition of all risk? Don't make me ask Sona, she hates that. Sona, what is all risk? Pooja, what is all risk?
All risk is risk, specifically not excluded? Like all risk until and unless something is specifically excluded.
Good job. So all risk covers against all perils except those perils specifically excluded. You have to know that for the test. Write it 5 times on your notebook right there, so. Lorena, is it in your notes? I can go over there and look, it'll be in your notes? Okay. So I ask you in 5 more minutes, you're gonna be able to find out? Adriana, what's the definition of actual cash value? So replacement minus depreciation, good job. That's kind of what I heard. Okay. Is that kind of what you said? Is that kind of what you said?
Yes.
That's okay, good job. For the test, who is not insured in the homeless policy, Jason?
Spouse doesn't live there, non-resident.
Good job. So breakage of glass is never on the HO1. Collapse during construction is never on the HO1 or the DP1. All of these are additional coverages. Let me find the beginning of this. Again,
So the breakage of glass and collapse are the homeowner's policies. Deductible. In the HO.
rephrase, please.
You're saying breakage of glass and collapse? For
It's
the
never on BP1 or HO1.
HO, okay.
Yeah, but it is on all the other policies. Okay, additional coverages. Now, on the test, they're gonna ask you, how much is grade markers covered for? Grade markers are covered up to $5,000. So if your family has a family cemetery plot, you'll pay up to $5,000 for any grade marker or mausoleum that's damaged. If you're renting a room to somebody and your house gets on fire, the furniture in that room you're renting to somebody is covered for a maximum of $2,500. So these two are on the test. You have to know both of these guys. That'll be on the quiz tomorrow.
Said 2,500.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat that, please?
What that's in?
Can you repeat that, please?
Grave markers are covered up to 5,000, and landlord's furnishings are covered up to 2,500.
So these would not be applicable to your deductible. So these are, what we call additional coverages. Your deductible only applies to coverage A, B, and C. So Vincent, on a homeless policy, we're just coverage A, B, and C?
Homeowner's policy A is, dwelling, C is personal property, and B is other structures.
One more time, please. A is what?
Dwelling,
B,
other structures,
C?
personal property.
Okay. But the lawn, trees and shrubs, the only thing is if you do plant something outside where you're renting or where you live, always remember, if you have a renter's policy, that is covered under your renter's policy, your owner's policy, up to $500 per tree shrubbery plant. If you own a house, it's 5% a day, if you're renting, then it's 10% a C, maximum.
Do they give you the percentages on the test, or is it more focused?
No. This is not an ear test, this is just personal information. Loss assessment. This is, the standard amount is $1,000. So if you own a condo or a townhouse, if you own a condo or townhouse, my next thing is, how old is that condo or townhouse? If that condo or townhouse is like 30 years old, I would tell you to tell your insurance company, you wanna increase this up to like 10 or 20,000. So if your condo or your townhouse that you may own is, we'll say, 10 years old, I tell you to increase this up to $10,000. If your condo or townhouse you own is 20 years old, I would tell you to increase this up to 25,000. If your condo or townhouse you own is like 40 years old, I would tell you to have this at $50,000. So, in San Jose area, we deal a lot of people who are selling or buying condos. The association, not very well ran. So if I go to a condo complex and I see things are kind of falling apart, that person, everybody in that association needs to increase their insurance up accordingly. But we can't protect everybody because we don't know all those people. What happens is, you go to sell your condo, and you find out the association put a lien against your property, for loss assessment. And I see people get hit up for $50,000 on the loss assessment. What that means is when they sell their condo, they have to subtract $50,000 from what they get. And sometimes might be everything that they had invested in that property as far as the equity goes. So this is for if you own a condo or townhouse or you belong to an association. But basically, this is for a condo or townhouse. You don't have to know this for the test, you have to know this for real life. Loss assessment, most people don't have a property written when they buy the condo or the townhouse. Most agents don't know you to even ask that question, to be honest with you.
So what is it that the homeowners association is charging or putting a lien against the house for?
Well, part of the, association is to maintain all the units. So sometimes they have, steps, porches, all of that is covered in the association's policy. And sometimes they're spending money somewhere else, and then they find out, cause some of these places are like, 500 units, 15 different buildings. So what happens is, if part of the porches are falling apart, they assess each unit owner at that point in time, because they don't have enough money to fix it up. So I see this happen way too much in real life.
So they'll just put a lien against your condo without telling you, and you don't find out until you.
Oh, no, they tell you. They've seen your letter, we now put yours, $50,000 to maintain the unit that we're gonna have to pay for.
And then so, once you go to sell, that's when that lien finally hits?
Yeah, if you don't pay it up front, then it's paid out of, the sale of the property, because it's gonna show up on the records.
And your insurance company will let you increase this even if they've already assessed the
Nope,
house,
you
or?
can't increase it after the assessment, you have to do it before the assessment.
Gotcha. So if you buy into like an old place, then it's a good idea to get it up high as soon as you move in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't even tell you how many times I've seen that happen to people. Ordinance and law. So this is telling you a little bit what that means, covers items usually excluded, says the property residual value of a dwelling that must be demolished to comply with building code requirements. What this is for is, if I have a house and my house burns down and I have galvanized pipes, the law now says, and my house will say it's 30 years old. And the law now says that you can no longer put galvanized pipes into a house, you can put copper pipes or equivalent. So if my house doesn't have copper pipes, but it has galvanized pipes, then what the ordinance law does, it pays for that upgrade that's required. So most companies, if they add this to your homeowner's policy, they give you 10% of covered seed for this. So ordinance or law will cover the upgrades that's required, especially after you've had a loss. That probably doesn't make sense yet.
So covered, 10% of covered C covers, and the ordinance law covers the rest.
Yeah, so on the test, they're gonna ask you, which of the following would create a gap in your insurance policy? One of the answers would be it'll cost 50% to bring your house up to code. So you'd be 40% short. So that's gonna be the answer on the test. If you have ordinance or law on your policy, which of the following would create a gap in your insurance policy? And then usually it's answer A, it'll say it'll cost 50% to bring your house up to code. That means you're 40% short. That's gonna be the answer on the test. Because your policy will only go 10% of it, of C on your insurance. Actually, it'll give you 10% of A on your insurance policy. So you're gonna see this on the test, it's gonna be one of the top 45 missed questions. It's gonna ask you, which of one would create a gap in your insurance policy? One of the answers is gonna say it's gonna cost 50% to bring your house up to code. That's gonna be the answer. Your policy will only cover up to 10% to bring it up to code. But the answer says it's gonna cost 50% to bring your house up to code. So you're 40% short. So that's why that's the answer. Okay, Carrie?
Can you repeat this?
What's that?
Ordinance or law, 50%, what did you say, by that?
What'd you say, John?
So you said something, 50% after that, something, I didn't get that.
On the test, the question would be, which is the following would create a gap in your insurance policy? One of the answers, you got 4 choices. One of the answers is gonna say it's gonna cost 50% to bring your house up to code. That means you're 10%, you're gonna be 40% short. That's gonna create a gap in your insurance contract.
And that 40% short, is that discovered in the question, or is that explicitly in the question?
I'm not sure what you said, but it's gonna say that in one of the 4 choices. So,
Okay.
usually I see it in answer A, it's gonna say, again, the question is, which of one would create a gap in your insurance policy? Of your 4 choices, one of them is gonna say, it's gonna cost 50% to bring your house up to code in case of a loss. So, that means you're 40% short, so that's gonna be the answer on the test.
15 additional.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So on Thursday or Friday, we'll be seeing some questions. If you go to the grant course on Monday, then somewhere between Thursday, Friday, and Monday, you'll see that example. It's us. We already know the pet questions, we already know all the pet questions on the test. Again, we don't cover aircrafts, we don't cover animals, birds or fish. We don't cover anything that's intentional. You never admit you did something intentionally.
Asking picture.
We never cover the land. We never cover anything that's catastrophic. We don't cover your vehicles. New law, home evaluations, not on a test. They're saying you guys should learn a little bit about what it will cost when you go to somebody's house. I don't know anybody who knows how to do that, per se, unless, they did a little work. This one should be dropping off as far as the law goes. So, the Department of Insurance creates laws. This one has never been enforced. They now require you guys to be able to figure out what it will cost to go to somebody's house. That way you can, tell them. Computing law settlements, that's what we did on the board earlier. A co-insurance goes with the word replacement, goes with, 80%. So co-insurance, 80%, and we have a replacement somewhere in this paragraph, a replacement. These words go hand in hand together. You get 1 to 3 of these questions on a test. They have to tell you what the house is worth, they gotta tell you how much insurance you have, they gotta tell you what the loss is. You have to be able to calculate what the boss is gonna pay on that. I see replacement here. So Carrie, what's the definition of replacement? What?
Is that math?
No, what's the definition of replacement?
Replacement is to replace everything back to what you lost.
Well, that's not kind of what they have. If you're asking for a definition, what do you think it says for replacement?
Replace what you lost.
So on this, that's gonna be actual cash value today without depreciation. That's replacement. So Carrie, what's actual cash value?
It's the actual of the depreciation.
If they ask you what is actual cash value, what's gonna be the answer to the test? Replacement minus depreciation. That's actual cash value. So Carrie, what's all risk?
It's the actual cash minus the depreciation.
No, what's the definition of all risk?
Same thing.
No.
Perils minus exclusion.
Good job. What's the definition of all risk?
Risk excluding it, which is actually mentioned.
One more time, please.
All risk, which is not like exclusively mentioned.
Okay, so all risk comes against all perils except those perils specifically excluded. Good job. What's your replacement?
Replacement is, actual cost value without depreciation.
Good job. And what is actual cash value?
Actual cash value is replacement minus depreciation.
Good job. So can you teach her that?
Yeah.
Okay. You're in charge of Carrie.
Actual cash value.
So they did, over on whatever page this is, page 61, they gave you the definition, they gave you an example as far as how to figure that out.
Cost today without depreciation, I have to like without.
If you have a problem with this one, I can give you Jason's phone number, call him up, ask him how you do this one. Or get Vincent's number, get Wesley's number, get Nick's number. Ask him, how do you do this? So after lunch, we'll have a couple of you guys come up. Now, if you tell me you can't do it, then I won't have you come up. Anybody can't do this? That means everybody's fair game for after lunch. How we doing the time? Lunchtime, be back at 1 o'clock.
Room gonna be open?
Yes.
Will the room be open?
Yeah.
Replacement of replacement is actual cost today with depreciation.
Yeah, they may have some catering, like, thing way be at.
You do the test online, you can't have the scratch paper, right, to do the math?
Well, when they do that.
One scrap piece of paper is allowed while you're doing remote access to the exam. When you go to the testing center, they'll give you like a little Dimsy tablet that you can erase, make a note and then erase.
Like a sketch pad.
Can you download stuff, like you have,
They take control over your computer.
no, from your head? Like if
Oh,
you have acronyms
yeah,
and
whatever
like,
you can write down, but, you have to do it once a time strikes.
Where is it written?
Is that the Megan?
Oh, yes, I don't know, I wrote it down when he was.
Let's see what else we got up. So it should say 3 and 4.
At the left corner, no, right corner. Right corner should say 3 and 4. One of those? Okay, so then you sign it, trying to find your name? Okay, then that means we need to add it way at the bottom.
It means you weren't here this morning, you have to pass over again.
Yeah, just write it underneath the disclosure. Let's just stop doing this.
Need a little bit.
The one that was, the one you was on the ball?
Okay,
The
you're
one
all
he
in.
was, no, I'm just saying, yeah, this is go up, there's that, yeah.
What does it say?
Replacement
Yeah.
for cost minus depreciation is the actual.
What counts as this? What counts?
Yeah, that is replacement cost.
You got it. Yeah. You didn't make any cells? No? Doesn't recognize it.
Yeah, actual cost value and the that's what is replacement cost. And then all this.
That's always it. Well, actually, I go to this.
Go to history, see what was sold. Not there.
Without that.
You bought Grab. Laura, you didn't sell? So they said that,
The Department of Insurance is asking us to do a name correction for So
she sent us the email?
she's gonna send it to us.
She was supposed to send it to them yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Juan Carlos from Vallejo?
Like this depreciation on this side, anything plus depreciation.
Well, this is the one